2 points. Julie Kim.
Talking to a stranger is often rewarding if you're willing to keep your noise-canceling headphones on.
Yep. Well, that's my secret to successful air travel. Talking to a stranger is often rewarding if you're willing to push past the awkward moments. Just so you know, the awkward moment might be you. According to a CBC report from January 2023, what did a Sobeys in Edmonton do to give customers an opportunity to talk more with a stranger? Ivan?
They lowered all the trucks so people's heads were at the same level. You guys been to Edmonton?
Incorrect, but well thought out. Julie Kim.
They colluded with the other grocery chains and increased their prices because of inflation. Now the customers have plenty to talk about.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Yep. 3.5 points. The actual answer, they opened a slow social lane where customers can chat with the cashier as long as they like. Closely followed by a mass exodus of cashiers. And that's the firing line, everybody. All right, it's almost that magical time here in North Van when our Centennial Theatre audience votes. But first, here again to tell us why, when it comes to chatting with strangers, don't talk the talk or even walk the walk, just run the run. Let's hear again from Julie Kim.
Listen, I don't have time to talk to strangers. I'm busy, I work, I'm a mom, I'm listening to this podcast about kindness. There is no time. Sure, there's a chance that talking to strangers could result in lifelong edifying relationships. Maybe a best friend or a soulmate that makes every second of this difficult thing called life worth living. But that's not a risk I'm willing to take. By the way, I'll be doing a meet and greet after the show. Thank you.
Julie Kim, getting to the meat of it, does not want to talk to strangers. Now, here to take the danger out of talking to a stranger, let's hear again from our new friend, Ivan Decker.
Let me paint a picture of the future my opponent is advocating for. The year is 2030. Talking to strangers.
the Centennial Theatre in North Vancouver.
Climate change and cultural tensions around tourism. Canadian travel businessman Bruce Poon-Tip wants us to think critically about what it means to travel.
People have to understand that travel is a privilege. It's not a right.
The Ethics of Travel on the Sunday Magazine with Pia Chattopadhyay. Sunday morning at 9:30 in Newfoundland. And on demand on CBC Listen.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show. Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC...
At 12 o'clock, we're at -8 with sunny skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. Protesters have taken their demand to search the Prairie Green landfill straight to the legislature. The remains of 2 women from Long Plain First Nation are believed to be there, and it's one of a number of protests scheduled throughout the country today. The CBC's Ian Fraze is at the Manitoba legislature.
A few hundred are here, crowded together at the front of the legislature. There's been a common thread through the speeches and listening to the protesters here. They say enough with the excuses. It's time to search the landfill where the remains of at least 2 First Nations women are located. The speeches also targeted Premier Wab Kinew. He promised a landfill search this year. But 5 months after the election, they're still waiting. Cambria Harris, whose mother's body is believed to be in the landfill, says they helped Kinew get into government, and now they're expecting his promise to be kept. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg Police Chief Danny Smythe updated city councillors today on when a new bail enforcement unit would start. The CBC's Cameron McLean has your details now from City Hall.
Offenders out on bail account for nearly 20% of violent crimes in Winnipeg. That's according to a new report from Winnipeg Police Chief Danny Smythe. The Manitoba government announced last month it would give the service $3 million to hire a dozen officers for a new bail enforcement unit. He told the Winnipeg Police Board this morning it will take time to hire those officers. The service first needs to recruit 24 officers to form a downtown foot patrol unit. Smythe told the board he expects to have enough officers for the bail unit once a recruitment class graduates this fall. Once in place, the officers will focus on arresting offenders who pose a serious risk to safety by breaching conditions of their release. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg police are asking for the public's help in solving a year-old homicide. Tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the death of 33-year-old Tremaine Travers. On March 9th of 2023, he was found dead in a suite in a hotel along Main Street in the 600 block. Anyone with information regarding his death, including people he had contact with or know about his whereabouts leading up to his death, is asked to contact police. No information is considered too small and may help bring closure to his family. New job numbers from Statistics Canada are out today, and they show tens of thousands of jobs were added to the economy last month, actually double what economists were predicting. But the report is a bit of a double-edged sword. Scott Peterson explains.
According to this report, the economy is on a roll, and according to economists, it's also defying gravity. 41,000 positions created in February. That represents double what economists were expecting, and job growth was in full-time jobs. Alberta and Nova Scotia did particularly well. Alberta created 17,000 positions. But we did see signs the economy is slowing. The unemployment rate ticked up to 5.8%. Wage growth for permanent employees also slowed to an annual rate of 4.9%. That's the weakest since the summer. And this shows, according to economists, that the economy is having a hard time keeping up with population growth from new Canadians entering the country. And the bottom line here is there's nothing in this unexpected strength of this jobs report that will entice the Bank of Canada to come off the sidelines and cut interest rates anytime soon. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
And on this International Women's Day, people in Ireland are voting in a referendum aimed at removing outdated language about women in the Constitution and about leaderships in the home. and relationships. But there's lots of confusion over the implications of the changes. Abby Kuathasan has more from London.
Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar says the double referendum is intended to remove inequality from the country's 1937 constitution. The first of two proposed amendments will expand the definition of a family to include unmarried couples and single-parent households. It would recognize, quote, durable relationships.
The concern is, number one, that it is too vague.
Rachel Walsh is an associate law professor in Dublin.
The question related to that about whether there might be any knock-on implications for taxation or for succession law.
The Second Amendment could remove a clause that enshrines a woman's role in the home in support of the state. The update would highlight that care falls to everyone, but activists are concerned the language could reduce government responsibility. Walsh expects both measures to go through when results are announced on Saturday. Abby Kuathasan, CBC News, London.
Canadian comedy icon Eugene Levy's being honored with his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Levy became a household name in the 70s and 80s, working on SCTV. In recent years, he was known for co-creating and starring in the sitcom Schitt's Creek with his son, Daniel Levy. And the Winnipeg Jets added more offensive firepower hours before the National Hockey League's trade deadline.
Irish Prime
Anderson tees one up. That was a high shot. The Flames score. Tyler Toffoli, and this game is tied.
The Jets acquired right winger Tyler Toffoli from the New Jersey Devils. He has 26 goals and 18 assists this season in 61 games with Jersey. This marks the third time in 3 seasons Toffoli has been traded. The Jets gave the Devils their third-round draft pick this year and second-round pick in 2025.
Good afternoon, Manitoba. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM, and everywhere on the CBC Listen app. I'm Corey Funk in for Marjorie Dowhouse, and happy International Women's Day. Today, we're going to take a look at the state of female entrepreneurship in rural Manitoba. We're going to head to Virden, where roughly 60% of small businesses are run by women. That's coming up after 12:35. But this half hour on the show, it's the first time a cougar has ever been captured alive in Manitoba. We're going to speak to the man who accidentally caught it and released it, coming up at 12:15. But first, a plan is in the works to send some veterinarians to northern Manitoba First Nations to help reduce the spread of rabies. We're going to speak with the head of the Manitoba Veterinary Medical Association just ahead. Well, the Manitoba Veterinary Medical Association is hoping to limit the spread of rabies in some remote northern communities. They're doing this through their new Manitoba Community Vaccinator Program. The program involves sending vets to First Nations to administer animal vaccinations to stray dogs and other animals. There's also an educational component. Corey Wilson is the executive director of the Manitoba Veterinary Medical Association. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me, Corey.
So for starters, why is it important to have a program like this?
Yeah, and so maybe I'll just provide a little bit of background about the program, but we have a lot of dedicated veterinarians and veterinary technologists that currently go to remote areas of Manitoba, including northern Manitoba. In this program, we're actually allowing veterinarians to train people within the community to deliver rabies vaccine themselves. And why that's so important is that rabies, once a human shows signs of rabies, because rabies can be transferred from animal to human, once a human shows signs, unfortunately, it's a fatal disease. And so anytime someone comes in contact with an animal that is suspected to have rabies, they need to undergo a lot of medical treatment to ensure that they do not themselves develop rabies.
And how big of a concern is rabies in these communities right now? Like, what do you know about how prevalent it is?
So the government of Manitoba keeps some statistics on that, and luckily we're not seeing tons of rabies cases every year in Manitoba, but they are in wildlife and they spread from animal to animal. So that's most of the rabies cases that we see in Manitoba. But what can happen with our companion animals if they're outside of our home is they can be infected by wildlife, which is definitely more prevalent in rural areas.
And are you noticing a trend, like increase or downfall at all, anything like that with rabies?
We haven't seen any trends that way, but again, because rabies is a fatal disease, we are of course extremely concerned about any human exposure to rabies.
And there's currently we've reported on this before that there's a bit of a shortage of veterinarians, kind of in general, particularly in remote communities. You said there's people going up, but can you just give us an idea of just how tough it is to get vets to care for animals in remote northern communities?
Right. So we're seeing a shortage right now, realistically, across the entire province. So whether you're in the city of Winnipeg or, whether you're in Thompson, Manitoba, or whether you're in La Paul or any other communities in Manitoba, there is a shortage of veterinary professionals. And so that's veterinarians and veterinary technologists. And so what happens when we see shortage on these professionals is they're having a hard time doing the day-to-day work that they need to do for the communities around them. So to find, normally volunteers to travel to these areas and take time off of work just becomes so much more complicated just based on the shortage that we face. I think we're very lucky in Manitoba. We have a very volunteer-driven group of veterinarians and veterinary technologists that are, willing to dedicate their time and energy, and in a lot of cases are volunteering or discounting services in order to go to areas that have access to care issues. But again, as we face shortage, that just becomes so much more challenging when they can't meet, the current caseload that they have at their day-to-day job.
And the shortage itself, do you see it kind of getting better in the short term, or is it still kind of getting worse?
We don't see any kind of reprieve in the shortage right now. We are thankful to the government. They have increased the number of veterinarians that we're training in Manitoba from 15 to 20, each entering class. But based on our shortage numbers, that likely is still not enough. And so we're looking at other ways of alleviating shortage as well.
And this program itself, particularly, for rabies in northern communities, does this have any provincial funding help, anything like that?
We were on a working group with the Winnipeg Humane Society and the province as well. At the end of the day, it's going to be veterinarians and communities that are looking at how they're going to be funding the actual vaccines. And so as the program unrolls, we'll kind of see if there's some federal funding on that front.
And when and where is this program going to start being rolled out?
So we're going to be launching on June 1st. So if folks want to visit our website, mvma.ca, they can subscribe for updates. We're going to have some updates soon for communities that are interested in participating. And so right now we're just going to be working on connecting communities with interested sponsoring veterinarians that will be overseeing the program. And so we'll see what the community interest is and how those organization efforts go.
And what would success look like for you, in a year or two when, this thing has been underway for a little while?
Yeah, so we would just hope that so many more animals across Manitoba are receiving really essential preventative care. So this program involves rabies vaccination, but it also involves vaccination for other diseases that can be very fatal for our companion animals, like distemper and parvovirus. So we hope to see a lot more, many more animals in these communities being vaccinated for rabies, but also distemper and parvovirus. And regarding distemper and parvovirus, these are illnesses that if our companion animals aren't vaccinated for, they can wipe out over half of the companion animal community, like half the companion animals within a community because it's so contagious and so fatal. So we also hope to not see these incidences of communities that are traumatically losing, over half of their companion animal population, over the course of a few weeks.
Well, Corey, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, and all the best.
Great. Thank you so much.
Corey Wilson is the Executive Director of the Manitoba Veterinary Medical Association.
Your neighborhood, your community, your country, your world, your news that matters. News that belongs to you. Your World Tonight. Every night, 7 days a week on CBC Radio 1. On demand on the CBC Listen app and everywhere you get your podcasts.
12:13 right now. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk in for Marjorie Dowhouse. And just ahead here on the show, we're going to speak with a Manitoba trapper who got the surprise of a lifetime when he found a live cougar caught in one of his wolf traps. He's going to tell us his story coming up in just a few minutes here. But first, let's take a look at the current conditions across the province right now. Brandon, you are sitting at minus 13 right now, mainly sunny at the airport. Carmen, minus 8 right now for you. Churchill, minus 11. Cypress River, minus 11 right now. Dauphin at the airport, minus 9. Fisher Branch, minus 8. Flin Flon at the airport, minus 9 right now. Mostly cloudy. Gillam, partly cloudy, minus 5. Grand Rapids, you are our hotspot in Manitoba this afternoon, sitting at minus 3. Cold spot, Melita at minus 14. Gretna, you are minus 7. Island Lake at the airport, sunny, minus 9. Lynn Lake, you're getting some light snow right now, minus 9 as well. Portage, mainly sunny, minus 7. Swan River, minus 11 right now to Dooley Lake, sunny, minus 8. Thompson at the airport, mostly cloudy, minus 7. And Winnipeg at the Forks, minus 7, mainly sunny. Well, Shania Twain is back in Barbie form. The Timmins, Ontario-born singer was honored with her own Barbie likeness along with 7 others as part of this year's International Women's Day and offered 2004 live album Party for Two. This is You're Still the One, featuring Alison Krauss.
Sing with me, please.
We knew we'd get
Sing it, look how far we've come.
Ooh, that's Shania Twain. You're still the one. Well, time now is 12:19. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk in for Marjorie Dahouse. Well, up next on the show is the catch of a lifetime.
Wouldn't believe what I caught. Well, what the heck do I do
Well,
with
there's
that?
a first for you, buddy.
I'll say. Oh, yeah.
That's trapper Clint Jansen moments after seeing a young female cougar with its paw caught in his wolf trap near Swan River, Manitoba. It's back in the wild now, and as it turns out, it's the first time a cougar has ever been captured alive in Manitoba, and Clint joins us now. Good afternoon, Clint.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good. I mean, I'm curious, what was going through your mind when you first realized a cougar was caught in one of your traps?
Honestly, shock and awe. Something I never expected to see, that's for sure.
Yeah, have you ever encountered a cougar before then?
Never saw a live cougar, no.
Wow. Okay, so you kind of take me back. So how did that cougar, how do you think the cougar got into your trap in the first place? Like how kind of set the scene for us here?
I'm a trapper, and I was targeting wolves, and I had came 2 days or a day before and found a coyote caught in that trap that was actually killed and eaten, and I had assumed it was the wolves due to the fact that the ground was all hard and I couldn't see any tracks, and never dreamt there'd be a cougar there. So I just reset the set around the coyote carcass, thinking that the wolves would be back to finish it off. And lo and behold, the next day when I came back, here was a cougar in that trap. So obviously it was the cougar that had did it, and not the wolves.
Wild. And just can you describe like what this cougar kind of looked like?
Healthy looking, awesome looking animal, muscular and beautiful creature.
Yeah, I mean you'd never seen one, I guess, until then. Like, did you know?
No, not other than pictures or videos or anything. No, nothing ever live like that.
Wow. And how did you get the cougar out of the trap? Like, how long was it stuck there for? How did it get back into the wild?
It wasn't there long. By law, as trappers in Manitoba, we get regulations as to what equipment we use, and the particular wolf trap that it was in has a substantial space between the jaws, which means the jaws don't meet. It just holds the paw in there. It doesn't cut circulation or anything off. So it was alive and well, and we're also not allowed to keep any cougars that are caught in traps or snares, so they got to be reported to resources immediately. So that's exactly what I did. After about 1 minute of pictures and videos, we just walked back out a bit, and I immediately phoned resources, and within about 5 minutes they phoned me back and said no, they want to collar it, and that's exactly how it did.
Okay, and so it was resources that helped get, like, how do you get the cougar out of there? Because I imagine you still have to get up close to it, right, to get it out. How does that work?
There was people from the federal government, a federal vet, I believe, and 2 different resources from Swan and Dauphin had come. And I believe it would have been probably a federal vet tranquilized the cougar. And we waited our certain amount of time, and then went back in, and they did their thing. I removed the trap from its foot. Its foot was fine, in my opinion. There was no circulation cut off. There was no major damage to the paw at all, and it got collared, and there were measurements and DNA samples and stuff like that, and they gave it the reversal, and away it went.
Right. So now it's got, so his DNA samples went off. I know, and there's that collar on that. That's going to be tracking this cougar actually now wherever it goes, which is obviously going to help biologists kind of understand cougars better. How does it feel knowing that, not only you just came across this very unlikely accidental catch, but you also kind of accidentally contributed to science a little bit too, eh?
Yeah, no, that part definitely feels good. I know there's people that would rather not have them around. But in my opinion, I did what was right and what was required by law, and I think it's a good thing. They now have the opportunity to track one and see if they actually stay in Manitoba or if they just travel through. Or it's an awesome thing, I think, for us.
Yeah, you said there's some people you said who maybe who say like they don't want cougars around. What has the reaction been from people when you tell them this story?
For the most part, really, really good. Lots of people are happy that it got collared and it didn't get put down, and that it is a chance that we can, or they can, study what cougars do in Manitoba for the first time ever. And there's been some people that would rather not have them around, but the majority of the people are really good and awesome about it. So.
And I understand. So you've been trapping since you were 8 years old. Is this this must be the wildest thing you've ever caught, hey?
Absolutely. A friend of mine said all you got left to catch now is a Bigfoot. So.
Well, Clint, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon to tell your story. I guess I'm trying to think if I want you to catch a Bigfoot or not, but all the best in the future, and thanks for sharing the story. And thanks for sending those photos and videos along as well. That's going to be on our CBC website very shortly. So
awesome. One more thing, if I can, before I may. Hats off to all the government officials involved. I mean, they being their first cougar ever done, everything was just professional and 100% perfect. So really, they did an awesome job.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Clint. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.
Take care.
Bye-bye. That's Clint Jansen. He's a trapper based in Minitonas, Manitoba, near Swan River. So the province says samples of hair, blood, and feces have also been sent to the Assiniboine Park Zoo for DNA analysis, and that's going to add to a small data set already collected from other cougars in Manitoba. That radio collar will transmit local information twice a day, which over time they hope will reveal information about its movement and possible breeding patterns. News is currently writing about a web story, which will have pictures of that cougar. So keep an eye out for that later today on our website. That's cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Uncover from CBC Podcasts is your source for exceptional storytelling and groundbreaking journalism. Unveil the shocking secrets of one of Canada's most prolific fashion moguls. Dissect the events that led to the city of Philadelphia dropping a bomb on a family of American citizens. And dive into the unsolved murders of 2 Canadian billionaires. The very best in award-winning true crime. Uncover, available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
12:26 right now, a few minutes away now from your local news. We've got a little bit of time to squeeze in a song from Métis singer-songwriter Amanda Rayholm. This is On Your Shores. You're hearing it right here on CBC Radio 1.
The river, you hadn't slept in days and it was already late. You blew in just like the wind. It's hard to know where it begins and ends. Like love will leave you weak and rustles leaves in what's known overseas in time zones. Wind. Time the days turned into nights. Is this what they call love?
That's Amanda Rayholmes with On Your Shores. Still to come here on Radio Noon for International Women's Day, we're heading to Verdun, where women-led businesses are booming. 60% of those businesses are led by women. That's coming up right after your CBC Winnipeg News.
This is CBC News. At 12:30, we're at -7 with sunny skies in downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. Hundreds of people took part in a round dance at Portage and Main in Winnipeg this morning. They're protesting the delay in searching the Prairie Green landfill for the remains of 2 women from Long Plain First Nation. They're believed to be the victims of a serial killer. Police believe Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron are beneath the surface of Prairie Green, a private landfill north of Winnipeg. Their families have been demanding a search since 2022. Cambria Harris, Morgan's daughter, spoke at today's demonstration, which coincided with International Women's Day.
I don't understand how these governments can celebrate our women and our diversity when our women are still laying in landfills and garbage dumps that remain gravesites to this day and a burial ground at that.
Demonstrators at Portage and Main chanted, "Bring out Wob." Premier Wob Canoe has repeatedly promised a landfill search. The Winnipeg Jets, have acquired right-winger Tyler Toffoli from the New Jersey Devils. The move comes hours before the NHL trade deadline. Toffoli has 26 goals and 18 assists this season in 61 games with Jersey. This marks the 3rd time in 3 seasons Toffoli has been traded. The Jets gave the Devils their 3rd-round draft pick this year and 2nd-round pick next year in 2025. The trade deadline today is in about an hour and a half. And as the world marks International Women's Day, there's little to celebrate when it comes to equality in Canadian boardrooms. The latest data shows women are still seriously underrepresented in top jobs. Here's Nisha Patel.
The progress has been quite piecemeal.
Marwa Abdu says when it comes to women in management, Canada is falling behind countries such as the U.S., Mexico, and Hungary. Her research for the Canadian Chamber of Commerce shows women make up almost half of the workforce, but hold just 21% of board seats.
There are trickle-down effects of these low representation numbers on how management looks like in the rest of the company.
Deborah Rosati started a company that helps women network to boost their profile.
There's data to prove the more diverse your board is, the better the decision making.
Advocates say businesses can help women advance by tracking hiring and promotions and offering opportunities for upskilling and flexible work. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
For news anytime, head on over to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
You always do.
We just had a story, obviously, about someone who accidentally caught a cougar in his traps. I'm not going to ask you what you've caught in your traps lately. I know you're not a trapper, but
you don't know that.
But are you? Do you have like an animal encounter story?
Oh man, come on! One of my first news stories. I cut my teeth. There was a missing cheetah. In North Vancouver.
As they do, go missing like that.
Yeah, and it was on the lam. It was running around the mountains of North Vancouver, somebody's cheetah, and I was assigned to cover that story.
Okay, I was so excited for you to be like, I was the one who found it.
I was the one who lost it. No, and one time I was sitting at my computer as a kid, and a black bear, came into the computer room.
Well, well, there we go. You didn't lead with that one. That's wild.
That's even wild. Remember that? That's how old we are. The computer rooms.
Yeah, the computer rooms.
The computer desk.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yes, or internet cafes. Yeah. Wait. What? You just ended it like a bear just came into your computer room. What did you do?
Let's just say I regretted coming into the room.
Did you scare it away?
Yeah, I scared it away.
Yeah, they're pretty skittish. Those
no,
black
I'm
bears.
not. It was a cub.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Which is actually scarier because where's the mom?
Yeah, exactly. But so the cub ran away, though? That's what happened?
Yeah, that was in Kamloops, which I don't know if you're familiar. It's a bit more rural.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that bair encounter story.
Yeah,
That's
back
wild.
soon.
Thank you. That's Matt Humphrey at our CBC News desk. And if you have a animal encounter that can top that one, give us a call on our listener line, 204-788-3205, 204-788-3205. 3205, because why not? Riley Lachuk, I know you've got weather, so I won't ask you about your animal encounter, because I'm actually very curious to see what's ahead for us this weekend. Give us some good news.
I am looking forward to a much quieter day in the weather center today.
Oh, yes.
I will start, Corey, though, by reminding you about the time change that is happening this weekend.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing.
Don't forget to turn your clock ahead. If you need, I'll phone you personally at 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday.
That'd be great. If that's the kind of service you'll offer, that'd be great.
That's the value add that you get. So also a good time to remember to change your smoke detector batteries, test them, make sure they're working. So what this does is this will mean our sun doesn't rise till about 8 o'clock in the morning starting Sunday, but we get that sunset at about 7:25. So I'm looking forward to the light and the brighter evenings.
That will be nice.
I'm looking forward to it. Winter's been quite long.
Yes.
Satellite radar right now. We are seeing a few stray clouds moving across the province. Otherwise, a mainly sunny sky, and that's what we're looking at province-wide as we get through the rest of the day. Mainly sunny skies, a little bit of passing cloud as we get into Saturday. Much the same. I don't have a lot to talk about today. Mainly sunny as we head through Saturday into Sunday. Far northern parts of Manitoba like Tadoule Lake, Brochet, even along the Hudson Bay coast, could pick up a couple of flurries as we head into the day on Sunday. Otherwise, not a lot to write home about this weekend. Other than that, it's looking quite pleasant if you like warm temperatures and sunshine. -9 in Winnipeg right now. It's -14 in Brandon. Thompson's at -5, as is Gillam this hour. We're looking at a high of about -5 in the city of Winnipeg this afternoon. -7 in Gimli under a mainly sunny sky. The Brandon region, -8s, -9s through the afternoon today. And clearing happening through the afternoon across northern Manitoba toward a sunny sky. Thompson at -3 by the time we hit late afternoon, and Churchill at -8. The next 5 days look like this. +1 on the way for your Sunday. Monday, +3. We see some clouds moving in and maybe some showers late in the day on Tuesday with a high of +4 and 0 with a chance of morning flurries for Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Riley.
No problem.
That is Riley Lachuk at our CBC News, CBC Weather Desk. $12:37 right now. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Corey Funk in for Marjorie Dowhouse. Well, as you just heard in the news, Canada is lagging behind its peers countries on female representation in management. But there's a Manitoba town that may very well be an exception to that. Roughly 60% of small businesses in Verdun are owned, run, or managed by women. That's according to Shanda Rolfe. She's co-chair of the Prairie Gateway Business Association in Verdun. Good afternoon and happy International Women's Day.
Hi, thanks so much, Corey. I'm really glad to be with you.
Well, thanks for joining us. Can you explain what's behind, women leading more than half of small businesses in Verdun?
Honestly, I think it is the resilience in the area, Corey, with the supporting industries that we have in the area with ag and with the oil. Obviously, resilience is an extremely important factor in both of those. And the women that have grown up or been exposed to both of those industries are really resilient. So instead of sitting down and waiting for the opportunities to come to them, they are creating them, and they are managing the businesses, they are buying the businesses, they are teaching their daughters and the women in the community about how to manage and run a business well.
And what impact does this majority kind of representation have on Verdun's business community and the community in general?
I think creativity and stability. We have some of those businesses that have been around for years, and women that have been at the head of those businesses as they've celebrated their longevity. The creativity and the fact that they have been adaptable during the pandemic and then following afterwards in their business models and how they actually do their business.
And I know yourself, you work in the financial sector, so what made you want to get into that line of business?
Supporting people. Honestly, it's just a joy every day to be able to come to work, and it's a different day every day. But people's holistic financial health is extremely important to me as a woman in business, as a wife, as a mother. I want to make sure that everybody's financial health is doing well and that they are aware of it.
Did you always know you wanted to get into finance, or what led you to that?
As I was growing up, we had financial struggles of our own, and then being a young single mother and stuff, I saw many aspects of the financial impact that it has on different sectors of life and personal life and business life. And as I grew and matured and took on more education, I saw a greater need for that financial holistic view. And so that's why I've kind of veered into that path and started working in the industry.
And as a young single mother, what were some of the challenges that you face in terms of being someone who wants a career, and clearly you've gotten there? How do you kind of overcome some of those challenges?
Hard work.
Yeah.
Yep. Hard work and perseverance, honestly, just not giving up, because every day there's a different challenge. Being a mom, being a single mom when I was single, and being within the different industries that I've been within, there are different challenges every day. And it's easy to give up and just say, you know what, I don't know how to do this. I'm just not going to try. And ended up just persevering through all of that and ended up where I am. And lots of support, so much support along the way from different women in my life, which has been super important. And so I want to pass that on as well to the women now that are in my life at this age.
That must be one of the advantages as well of living in a rural community. Maybe a lot of people think that it's an isolating thing, but really the communities are so tight in places like Verdun, right? That support you speak of. How is that in Verdun, say, compared to the other places?
Because when you walk down the street, you pretty much know everybody that you see.
Right.
When you go to the hockey rink, you know the person sitting to your right and to your left. When you go to the grocery store, you're usually not just there for 15 minutes. You're there for an hour because you see everybody that you know, and there's usually something that you need to talk to half of them about. So that's kind of the benefit there, I'd say.
Right. And what are some of the challenges that still exist, for women in business, particularly in rural areas of the province?
Because we are definitely pulled in many different directions as being mothers, as being business owners, as being managers, and being in that group that is still trying to keep those small towns viable. So we find ourselves on a lot of boards, doing a lot of volunteering, a lot of committee work and stuff. So I think that that's one of the main challenges right now, is that we are active in our communities, and keeping up the energy and keeping ourselves going can be a big challenge within itself.
When you look back on your life and your career, what advice would you give your younger self?
Don't give up. I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to get easier, but it is so worth it in the end. Keep working towards your dreams, and don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. Get up and make them yourself.
Well, Shanda, thank you so much for joining us, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Corey. Have a great day, and happy International Women's Day.
Yes, happy International Women's Day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Shanda Rolfe is co-chair of the Prairie Gateway Business Association in Verdun.
The rise of digital music has changed the rules of the game.
Who's in charge of what we listen to when we don't choose it for ourselves?
Find out who benefits, who gets to pick the winners and the losers.
The market has become really flooded with so much new music.
Take a closer look at what's really going on in today's music industry. Watch the new documentary, Big Music, on CBC News Explore. Stream free on CBC Gem and CBC News app.
Well, whether we're talking about representation in rural businesses or music, there's always women stepping up to show what they can do. And Madeline Roger is no exception. She's a Winnipeg musician who's made big efforts to bridge the gap of gender inequity in the music industry. She co-produced her 2018 album Cottonwood and made sure that at least half of the album production team were women. And in this next song, this is the result. Take a listen. This is 60 Years More.
I'm just a girl, I haven't got a clue. Somebody fill me in where a man got to. Help me with my microphone, help me lift this curtain. curse. Help me wrap my head around this verse. You don't have to say what you already showed. I was worthless, I was worthless, I was worthless since 16 weeks old. I'm just a girl who made a little mess. How to fix me up is anybody's guess. Bleeding in the kitchen, ketchup on the child. Talking too much, acting too wild. You don't have to tell me what I already know. I was paid less, I was paid less, I was paid less since 16 years old. I'm a thinker, I'm a hiker, I'm a mountain biker, I'm a shovel, I'm a hammer, I'm a creaky ladder, I'm a hugger, I'm a mother, I'm a midnight lover, and I'm a dancer, I'm a singer, I'm a long hair tosser. I love to love you, loving me. I have a woman's body, and it mostly does the trick for me. Except for when I'm told what I'm not meant to be. Don't make me hear it, don't make me hear it, don't make me hear it. Another 60 years
That's Winnipeg musician Madeline Roger with 60 Years More. You heard it right here on CBC Radio 1. Well, this weekend, many Canadians will have to reset their clocks as we, quote, spring forward. We will lose an hour of sleep, but we get the benefit of extra daylight in the evening. And in Saskatchewan, though, there will be no change at all. Those clocks are set to Central Standard Time year-round. Now, not everyone likes it or entirely understands it, so CBC's Leisha Grabinski looked into it for the CBC podcast Good Question, Saskatchewan. Here's some of what she found.
Stan Shattuck is a retired astronomer. Typically, astronomers advise governments on time zones. He knows the position of the sun and how that relates to time. No matter where you are in the world, the sun is supposed to cross your local meridian at noon. That's the imaginary semicircle that crosses the sky from due north to due south. But in some parts of Saskatchewan, that's the position of the sun closer to 1 p.m.
Well, that's because of our system of time zones that we've instituted. We are not in the correct time zone.
Wait, what? We're not in the correct time zone?
We call ourselves, we describe our time zone as Central Standard Time, and that is a time zone that would be accurate if we were located roughly at Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Just so you know, Thunder Bay is a 16-hour drive from Saskatoon.
So that's the longitude where Central Standard Time is accurate. That has to do with the history. So the current Saskatchewan Time Act was established way back in, I think it was around 1966. There was an astronomer by the name of Earl Milton. His recommendation was that the entire province of Saskatchewan follow Mountain Standard Time.
That would put us in the same time zone as Alberta.
His advice was overridden by the politicians at that particular time. Now, there There could be a good reason for that. Ideally, people living close to Manitoba would like the clock to be the same as Manitoba. If you're living in Maple Creek or Kindersley or North Battleford, they would prefer that the clocks stay the same as Alberta's. You're never going to get everybody to agree as to what the single time zone would be. What the politicians did in the 1966 Act was basically push the boundary for Central Standard Time west to include essentially all of Saskatchewan. And so I sort of see it as a political compromise. Half the time we're satisfying those people in Saskatchewan who live close to Alberta, and half the time we're satisfying the interests of people who live near Manitoba.
Unless you live in Creighton.
The large majority of all our residents, and they work in Manitoba for the whole time. It just was that much easier for everybody to switch to Manitoba time and stay on that time with them.
And how do people feel about it?
I think most people up here are very happy with it.
That's the mayor of Creighton, Bruce Fiddler.
That early morning daylight, if you're an outdoor person, you can get out on the lake fishing earlier, or you can get out on the golf course early in the morning, because that extra time of daylight in the morning is very beneficial.
It's always been this way in Creighton and Denair Beach, which is another community close to Manitoba. Also, Lloydminster. People there move their clocks back and forth to be in sync with Alberta. The whole concept of daylight saving was introduced by Germany during the First World War to help save on fuel costs. That's why it's called daylight saving. Those are the scientific and political reasons for how we set our clocks. But the topic of daylight saving time is like a ticking time bomb. No one thinks about it, but when the time comes, look out.
That's CBC's Alicia Grabinski from the podcast Good Question Saskatchewan. There's actually 7 new podcasts from CBC local stations. You can find them all on the CBC Listen or anywhere you subscribe to your podcast. And just a reminder, the clock springs forward this weekend. Well, 12:51 right now, and we got a little bit of time for some more music, and we're going to stick to our playlist of all women artists for International Women's Day. Up next, Winnipeg's own Fontaine.
Never wanted to be a homemaker. Always wanted to live in the city, with the coffee shops and little bars, and the sirens and the busy cars. That's all I thought I'd need. I never was somebody's girl, so forgive me if I'm a little scared to give this thing a whirl. But honey, you know that you're making it easy. Still I'm confused. I've lost myself. I'm changing into something new. I don't recognize myself in the mirror, and there's nothing you could do for me that would make this any clearer. No, still I'm confused. I've lost myself.
That was Homemaker by Winnipeg artist Fontaine.
Communities in Focus is back. CBC wants to get to know the communities we serve a little better, and this time we're coming to St. Laurent. I'm Emily Brass. Join me March 11th to 15th and share the stories of your community. Let's find out what St. Laurent is all about. Communities in Focus. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for more.
I'm so excited. I'm heading up to St. Laurent on Tuesday because Marcy Marcus and I will be doing a live broadcast of Information Radio live from St. Laurent on a Wednesday morning. So you're going to want to tune in for that. We've got a lot of really interesting stories in the works. So next Wednesday, tune into Information Radio. We'll be live from St. Laurent. Also live later this afternoon, Chloe Friesen is hosting Up to Speed from 3 to 6. Hi there.
Hello, Corey.
So what stories can folks look forward to?
So on Sunday, something happens. We do a little time travel. I don't know if you're prepared for this, but daylight savings is coming up.
I'm never prepared.
So clocks springing ahead on Sunday. The extra daylight can be nice, but it can also come with some nasty side effects.
Mm-hmm.
That 1 hour can make a huge difference. So we're going to be talking to a clinical psychologist on the best ways to prepare your body and mind for daylight savings.
I wonder if they know how to prepare a grumpy toddler.
Yeah, I was
for
going
that
to
as well.
ask.
Yes.
I guess you went through daylight savings already. With
Yeah,
your kiddo,
last year.
but sleep was probably also a little.
It was
iffy
already
no matter
disrupted
what.
as it was. He's a year and a half now, and oh boy. So I will see how it goes. I'm cross my fingers that it'll all be okay. We're just gonna put it to bed at a normal time and hope it goes well. But
All right.
who knows? Wish me luck.
I'm wishing you so much luck. For me, I'm just going to be grumpy, I think. But hopefully the psychologist we're talking to will be able to help me with some tips and tricks on how not to be a grump on Monday morning, because nobody wants to work with a grumpy Chloe.
Yes, no, but that's. I don't even know if that exists, but that's.
You don't want to meet her.
Okay, I don't. Well, looking forward to it, Chloe.
Thanks, Corey.
That is Chloe Friesen. She is hosting Up to Speed this afternoon from 3 to 6. And shout out to Creighton and Lloyd Minister in Saskatchewan, who are also joining in our lovely time change excursion on Sunday. That was actually fun to learn about. I had no idea that there's a couple of towns in Saskatchewan that get in on the time change with us in Manitoba. Well, that is a wrap for this edition of A Radio Noon. I hope you had a fun time learning about cougars, the first cougar that was ever trapped in Manitoba. That is quite the story. That one's going to stick with me for the weekend. Big thanks to everyone who helped put together today's show. Riley Lachuk, Matt Humphrey, Kalkadan Mulugeta, Travis Peterson, making us look good on YouTube, May McKillop, our tech and our director this afternoon. Our show producer is Nelly Gonzalez, and our senior producer of audio is Leif Larson. I'm Corey Funk in for Marjorie Dowhouse. And whatever you find yourself up to this weekend, I hope you find yourself doing something you love with the people you love. You're listening to CBC Radio 1, and coming up next, CBC Podcast Showcase. Happy International Women's Day, and have a lovely weekend.